Hey, my name is Joe.
And I'm Mary Beth.
And this is the best of GenX.
We are in our 40s.
And we're siblings.
We'll talk about adulting in a world so different from the one we grew up in.
So excuse us while we save a generation.
One episode at a time.
Let's go.
Hey, Joe.
Hey, Mary Beth.
How are you?
What's up, dirty players? That's my Andy Bernard Office reference. I'm doing well.
I know, you're still in the office loop.
I know, I can't get off of it.
You cannot.
I'm a loser.
Hey, then I am too. Because that's one that I can't ever walk away from, it seems.
Be loser-ish with me.
I will.
So what's up with you?
Well, besides this huge pimple on my chin, not much.
Is it in the skin? I can't see it.
Well, I've covered it.
Oh, hey, well done.
Hey, it makes me think of Friends, another great show. I met Sid, the dermatologist. Thank God for adult acne, am I right? Or whatever the line is. Close enough.
Yeah, always makes you feel real solid when you have a pimple in your mid-40s.
I know. It makes me feel young.
That's right. Sorry, hey, can't relate.
Well, I'm glad we finally got the rain we desperately needed.
Oh,
thanks to Hurricane Helene.
Hey, listen, my yard was getting crispy. So, yes, it was very welcome. I was telling someone recently that the last couple of days, because of the rain, it's so weird because I live on this golf course, and you literally spend all day watching golf carts and players drive or walk by, and I haven't seen one in the last 2 days because of this weather. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Especially, so we've been reading about the Hurricane Helene in Florida. It's been kind of wild. I'm seeing homes in the Carolinas and leading into Florida, like basically like being washed away. And it's been kind of a mess. And I know Mom and Dad have that place in Florida. And I think in that nearby area, like the bridge itself, like one of the bridges was actually like overflowed with water. It's kind of crazy to see that on the news. And it's, it's scary just to think people being down there and having to go through all that. But
here we just had annoying wind and rain, sideways rain.
Yeah. Big old fat rain.
And sometimes rain that seemed to come from underneath.
Well, I think even the scariest part is like the wind. Yesterday it was the wind was blowing so hard that my house was like making creaking noises.
I know, mine too.
Grief.
Mine too. I was really worried about the structural integrity of my home.
Exactly. I'm like, I just moved here. But yeah, I mean, speaking of weather though, Mary Beth, autumn is here.
Yay.
Autumn is here. Cold and rain are our friends this month.
The best time of the year.
Yeah, so there's kind of that familiar smell that's in the air. You see the leaves changing, real pretty colors. It's that time of the year when pumpkin sales go soaring and women can snag their trendy pumpkin spice lattes.
Easy.
Yeah, I'm sorry, ladies. Not into that myself, but horror movies sell out at the cinema sometimes, and everyone is seemingly dressed up as a ghost or a witch or a vampire or a zombie. Yes, we are talking about Halloween.
It's our Halloween extravaganza. That wasn't even planned.
I know, right?
We sound so good together.
Yeah, we're connected.
Well, we are actually recording this episode about a month ahead of schedule because our guest today will be leaving for Florida.
Drum roll, please.
Who is our special guest? It's Dad!
Hello, Dad.
Hi, Dad.
Hello.
Hey, I know him.
I know.
Long time no see.
That's right.
Dad, your name is Joe. I'll call you Big Joe.
Okay.
And call you Little Joe.
What a special name.
We have a lot of Joes in our
right.
family.
I've been called a lot worse.
I think Dad said he wanted to call me Sam.
I did actually.
I remember hearing that
Thought
growing
that
up.
was
I don't know
Cool
how I
name.
feel about that. Of course, if I didn't have any thing to compare it to, I would have been okay with it.
Sure.
But Sam, I don't know if I can pass for a Sam.
I'm looking at you. I don't see it.
I don't see Sam.
Well, the reason we wanted to have Dad on as a special guest for October 27th episode is because Dad was born the day before Halloween. Now, growing up, I always heard, and I don't know if you guys have heard this as well, but if you're born on Halloween and you're a female, you're a witch. If you're born on Halloween and you're male, you're a warlock. So I've always thought dad could have been a warlock. You're a wizard, Harry.
Sorcery.
Scary thought.
Well, and also, not just that your birthday will be right before Halloween, but it's probably your favorite holiday, is it not?
Next to Christmas, it's my favorite holiday. Of course, Christmas outshines everything.
It really does.
But Halloween was always a fun time.
Close
for
second.
Me. Yes. Always got excited leading up to it. And growing up in a big family, hearing your older brothers and sisters always talking about trick or treat. We called it really trick or treat. We didn't really call it Halloween. So we always got excited for trick or treat. And I couldn't wait until I was old enough and could campaign to convince my mom to let me go trick or treating with the others.
Yeah, Dad was always about that Halloween life.
Right. And I know we've mentioned this before, Dad, you have quite a contagious spirit, especially when it comes to holidays of any type.
Just a smidge, Mr. Clark Griswold.
Right. Hey, everybody, it's Flag Day. I mean, we
June 14th.
we grew up with that kind of enthusiasm, and it,
Yeah. Dad would stroll around the house in his Recyclops costume for Earth Day. Joking. He didn't do that.
So it definitely rubbed off on us because we are fellow Griswoldians as well.
I will say his birthday kind of used to confuse me as a kid. Did you experience this? Because I knew it was a day apart from Halloween, but because of that, especially when I was younger, not so much obviously when I got older, but I always confused the date. I was like, okay, so if Dad's, I was always confusing the actual date of Halloween because Dad's birthday was the day before. So I always got confused if Halloween was on the 30th and Dad's birthday was on the 31st, or vice versa.
No, I didn't experience that because I'm not an idiot.
Yeah, well, like I said, I was younger. My brain hadn't fully developed yet.
You two haven't changed.
Yeah.
Well, Dad, first I'd like to know, do you have a birth story?
Well, the only real story I could say,
As opposed to, like, what? Or was it just an ordinary, normal, unexciting birth? Like, as if birth isn't exciting.
At some point, when I was old enough to understand, I remember asking my mom once, why couldn't you wait a few hours and have me on trick-or-treat day? And she said, I tried my best.
You were child number what?
Best. 7.
7 out of 9. Honey,
yes.
I don't think she could hold in a sneeze or peeing without peeing on herself.
She was so good at giving babies out by then.
Yeah, she was a well-known soldier in that area.
Yes.
That and giving blood.
I don't think I've ever asked you this. Yeah, I don't think I've ever asked you. Were you born like early on that day or later on that day? Like, did you even have a chance to be born on Halloween, or was that on?
As I recall, it was in the morning.
Oh, okay.
It was in the morning time.
Gotcha.
I don't remember a time specifically, but she says, I tried.
We should have had Jennifer the historian on with us. She would have told us like the minute by minute account of your birth.
She would have unfolded her scroll of our family tree.
Yeah.
Jennifer might have even remembered what I was wearing when they brought me home.
Jennifer was like, it was 9:40 a.m. I definitely remember Grandma saying it was 9:40, and she made Grandpa go out of the room to get her some ice chips.
Yeah.
Jennifer.
She's sort of an idiot savant.
Yeah.
You know, people not calling her an idiot. That's an actual type of
No,
person.
I'm writing that down.
No, but people who
I
have this rare genius in some area.
Unexplained.
Yes. Jen has this genius for collecting family information, names, birthdays, stories, it's really...
she remembers details.
It's pretty impressive.
Yeah. Grandma had birth on the bed and would not let anybody touch her purse. So the purse was actually on the bed when Dad, she just knows stuff like
just
that.
Random stuff.
Most random stuff.
Okay, so what was it like just growing up, having your birthday so close to Halloween?
I got so excited leading up to my birthday because I knew what fun I was going to have the next day. So I would actually try on costumes, 2 or 3 days ahead of time just to make sure.
Sure.
And I think my excitement really began, I think I mentioned earlier already about my older brother and sisters. They were always excited about trick or treat. So when I finally got to that stage where I thought I was old enough to go, and of course back then you didn't have to worry about murderers, rapists, and thieves and nuts out there like you do now. I finally talked my mom into going, and I can't remember what age I may have been. I'm going to say 6 or 7 at
Sure.
least.
Oh, yeah.
At least. Maybe a year or two older. But that was it. The whole week was exciting for me because Mom had a whole box of old clothes and things you could throw together to make up seems like almost any costume. So we would get that big box of clothes out and try different things. And I still remember some of my costumes and so on. But yeah, it was an exciting time for me.
So did Grandma and Grandpa ever combine Halloween with your birthday celebrations?
I don't think they actually combined it. They realized that it was special for me, obviously more so than my brothers or sisters. And we did not give gifts at that time for birthdays. So the birthday part to me was a little anticlimactic. I was looking for the trick-or-treat day. Birthday, it had its own goodies.
Yeah,
So-
no, that's cool. I'm actually glad they separated it. For you, I would
Yeah,
hope
they
that they
did.
would make it a special thing. So my follow up question, you kind of answered it, but I wouldn't mind if you expanded on it. So like you mentioned that you were number 7.
Right.
So granted, you had 8 brothers and sisters, but for the few of you that grew up around the same time together, I think you kind of answered it. But did you all love Halloween the same way, or was it just extra special for you? I mean, you kind of said it was special for you because your birthday was the next day, but did your brothers and sisters that celebrated it with you like realize that? Did they make a big deal of that? That were like, "Hey, Joe, your birthday's tomorrow. This is a big deal." You know what I mean? Was it like how was that? Explain.
Yes, Benny, 4 years ahead of me. Gretchen was 2 years ahead of me. So I was always drawing excitement off of them, and they knew how to get me fired up even more. And they would talk about it. And what are you going to go as this year? And we'd talk about costumes and what to wear and so on. And so yeah, they knew it was exciting for me, and they made it even more exciting. More so excitement for the trick-or-treat part than for the birthday part, actually, because we didn't give gifts.
Right. And that coming from such a large family, we grew up hearing stories about how, gifts were few and far between for obvious reasons. 9 kids, your average large Irish Catholic family. You had to be creative in a lot of ways because you didn't have much. And so when it comes to Halloween, I'm curious as to like how you organize your costumes. Where did you get certain pieces, or did you just have a collection at home that everybody kind of passed down or shared?
Yeah, I think it was more of the passed down part, because my older brothers were far enough or older enough that we didn't have that same connection. They were kind of old enough to almost be my uncles, it seemed like. So they had long quit trick-or-treating by the time I was getting excited about it. But I'm sure they had, because they had a couple of their own trick-or-treat stories when we lived in New Albany. We moved from New Albany when I was only 3 years old, so obviously I wasn't out trick-or-treating. So yeah, there were some, I mentioned the box with all the different types of clothes, and there was a few costumes in there that came from my older brothers or sister. And I remember one in particular was a Robin Hood costume. It was too big for me.
Wait, you mean tights?
Well, fake tights,
No,
but
fake tights.
it was the whole costume. I mean, the brown hat with the big feather in it, and a green. It was cut off like Robin Hood's outfit was, and so on. And I couldn't wait to get big enough to wear that one, but I had to wait a few years. As you know, I grew late.
So we're already talking about costumes. What was your absolute favorite Halloween costume? Not your first memory of one.
Your favorite one?
Yeah, the
Where
one
you
that
just felt like a rock
the
star.
one that sticks out the most.
As a trick-or-treater,
Yeah.
or as an adult?
Yeah, hey, we're talking Little Joe.
Little Joe, I'd say the Robin Hood one.
I can kind of envision that. That's
It was a complete costume, and boy, I just couldn't wait. I think my very first was a real simple one, like Mom took a small sheet, and cut some holes in it, and I walked around bumping into stuff, as a ghost, and trying not to trip when I was jumping off of porches and so on. So it's kind of comical.
I would give anything to see like geeked out dad.
I know.
Excitable kid, like as an excitable kid. That would be awesome.
Yeah, I was not adept at thinking ahead. I mean, I would try to jump over flowers and trip and stuff like that.
So basically me.
Yeah.
When I was a kid. So did the Robin Hood thing have I don't have this as a question, but I'm just curious, did the Robin Hood outfit have the shoes, or did you have to wear your own shoes? Like, was it even that official?
As I recall, it did have shoes with it.
That's so cool.
But they were stretchable, so they
okay.
kind of all fits all.
I was wondering if it was like one of those pointy, like cool Robin Hood shoes.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Like I said, I was excited about that one. And
that's cool.
I think Benny was too big to wear it at that point, but I wasn't quite big enough yet. So you don't want to be tripping over your pant legs or tights as a Robin Hood. I mean, you'd never live that down at St. Michael's.
Mary Beth, did you have one? I certainly had one.
Favorite costume?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I have 3 that I think if I didn't win...
I think I know one.
If I didn't win, I placed. Our elementary school used to have an annual costume contest. I believe I brought this up in the Grease episode because I, like Stephanie Zanoni, wanted to be a Christmas tree. And so Mom, put the green felt sort of tree part, like a little dress that went over my head. So I had a green turtleneck, the tree made of felt, and then she added real tinsel, real bulbs, and then my feet were shoe boxes wrapped as presents under the tree. So that was a personal favorite because I was just determined, and Mom made it happen. I was also Dorothy.
That's the one I remember the most.
Yeah, my shoes were kick ass.
They
Thank
were
you,
like
Mom.
movie quality.
They were movie quality, and this was at a time when you couldn't really go to the store and find ruby slippers.
And your mother is not the type to go halfway into something.
No.
It's appearance.
Appearance. Mom is decked out head to toe. She's a blinger.
She found a way.
She found a way, and so I had sparkly red shoes that were so legit. I think she even...
You were not going to be Dorothy without
Right.
the shoes.
I
think she even found a stuffed dog for you or something.
She may have, and I had a
Mom,
basket.
Mom plays to win.
Well, I do remember, I think Mom actually made the dress as well. She got a pattern, I think, and made that. And then my other one was a bunny rabbit. So I either placed or won every year.
I don't remember the bunny rabbit.
When I saw Mary Dorothy outfit as a kid, I'm like, wait, did Mom steal that from Metro Goldwyn Mayer? The two that stuck out for me really quick were I was a convict.
I remember that.
And I had like the mallet, how like they work at the quarry with the chains around their ankles and they bang on the, whatever.
Yes.
I had the mallet. I was like, gosh, this mallet's annoying. I had to like carry it with me the whole time. I remember that one. And then Pee Wee Herman.
That was...
I think I won the Halloween thing at the
think
school
you did.
and Mom, same thing. I had the shoes. I had
and you had
gray
remember
suit.
how they made us walk? Like, so parents came and they put all these chairs up
Yeah,
in
it was
the
in
gym,
that old gym, yeah.
And there was an aisle, so you were announced, and you had to walk all the way
yeah.
down the center aisle and get onto the stage. And
He became Pee Wee Herman.
like-
There's no doubt.
But I was walking with my hand on
Yes.
my arm like this. I was walking just like
You're
it.
walking like him, talking like him.
Yeah.
The crowd really...
You had already
loved it.
won by the time you got halfway down the
Yeah.
aisle.
I had the Riz. I had the Riz.
You had the razzle dazzle.
Yeah, the sizzle.
Now, see, there's 2 of them there that I don't remember, so I must have been
You're
gone
probably-
to coaching
Hey,
or
hey.
Insurance.
Hey,
something.
deadbeat dad.
Yeah.
Well, at that time, we were young enough that you were still in the insurance business and you traveled a lot. So,
Yeah, this was before like 1988.
yeah.
So it was quite. I think I was like in 2nd grade.
I do remember the Dorothy, and I do remember the Christmas tree, which
Yeah,
I
I
thought was
definitely remember
awesome.
the Christmas tree.
And
Thank
I
you very
do
much.
remember the Pee Wee.
Yeah, the Pee Wee. I mean, I made it unforgettable.
Well, okay, so I think back to the Halloween season, that the big build-up sort of starts in October, and even your schools, your teachers, your classrooms are decorated, and it made me think of you and what was Halloween, quote, season, like the season of fright. What was it like in Catholic school? I can't imagine them putting witches and pumpkins and stuff. Like, were nuns celebratory? I'm thinking no.
Not that I recall it.
No classroom parties and cupcakes.
Yeah, they were not overboard on the religion part, but they certainly weren't going to push witches with mysticism and Satanism.
Right.
Okay, so
Conjuring of spirits and such.
forget all that. But
We will not celebrate, pagan.
they were not against trick or treating.
Yeah.
So
No, that's a great question because that's kind of a similar question I had. Was it frowned upon in your Catholic school? And
not really, not as I recall. And it's pretty strict. I had 2 really strict nuns, but even the strict ones.
So curious.
They didn't discourage us. Let's put it that way.
Right. So that was a great question she asked. So I guess my follow up to that is, did they? It doesn't sound like they pushed it much, but did they, or make a big spectacle of it? But did they allow the kids to dress up? Like public schools would let you dress up, or?
I don't recall that being the case. I know they do now.
Okay.
They kind of make a big deal out of that, especially in grade school. But excuse me, back then, no.
Yeah.
We would talk about it in class.
Hey, if they did, you know what I would do? I would dress up as a nun.
They'd probably send you straight to confession.
Hey, I'd walk up and go, "Hey, sister."
Okay. I wanted to know what it was like as a dad. So we grew up in the stranger danger era. We grew up in the razor blade and the candy apple era. So I know that now neighborhoods are just overwhelmed with families and strollers and wagons but I remember when we were trick-or-treating, it was just we were on our own, but we were still growing up in that era. So as a dad, I don't remember you and Mom being like checking our candy bags and stuff.
No.
Right.
No.
I guess you didn't care.
Yeah. Yeah, that had to be it.
Well, remember, Dad wasn't there.
Yeah. I was probably traveling. Jeez. I kept a piece of luggage always packed. I had to travel so much. At any rate, that was that era when it first started to get scary about some weirdos and wackos out there, and you didn't know what they were going to do. But in our particular community, neighborhood, we didn't really feel like that. It seemed like there was a connection to almost everybody, some way, somehow. It's like, what do you call the 3 degrees of separation, or 6 degrees? Ours was like 3 degrees.
Yeah, right. The small town.
Yeah, so
It was pretty safe.
yeah, pretty good neighborhoods and so on. So we'd heard about the stuff, obviously. And about that time, I think because of that scare, is when small towns started with the go to the inner part of the city, the square or whatever, and trick or treat out of the Lions Club,
Yeah.
the Kiwanis Club, give out candy to kids and stuff. So it's perfectly safe.
And
That kind of started, I think, as a result of that stuff.
I know churches, I guess they have their own reasons, but trunk or treat, it's activities like that.
Yeah. I think churches started getting scared enough about it, and it seemed like there became a wave of more weirdos or something. Can't even put a label on it, but I think that was about the time that churches started kind of campaigning against trick-or-treating, and some of them more so than others, but it was rare at that time. Everybody was still pretty hyped about going door to door and clearing out a whole neighborhood trying to get a candy bar from somebody.
Yeah, I think even high schools are doing like trunk or treating still, like because I know our basketball team like participates in it. And so, Dad, did you have the same group of friends that you went trick or treating with, or did you only go with your siblings?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, my best friend at the time, his name was Dennis, and it seemed like for at least 2 or 3 years in a row, we would always meet up somewhere, because it turns out his grandmother lived right across the street from us. So it was no big deal for him to be right there. He'd go to his grandmother's, and of course she'd give him candy, and then we would take off from there. And we lived in a neighborhood that was, I'm going to say, about 4 streets wide and up to almost a mile long. So we were able to hit a lot of houses in a short period of time.
That's awesome.
Not like some subdivisions now where you can just like take 2 steps and you're to the next house. But we didn't mind running to the next one, tripping over stuff.
Knowing Dad, he probably went to a grandma and was like, or his grandma was like, "Hey, can you make me a tuna fish sandwich and chips before we go out?"
And she would have done it.
Yeah.
That makes me wonder, once Halloween was over and you had your loot and you have all these brothers and sisters,
Give me the loot.
How did you keep your candy safe? Did you ration the candy for yourself? Did you want it to last forever?
Well, fortunately, my oldest siblings were old enough they didn't care. They were too busy having a real life. Our life at that time revolved around how many candy bars we could come up with, abscond with, and you'd always mark the homes that gave out candy bars.
Oh, for sure.
You'd might as well just make a list and say, okay, here's the places we can expect to get candy bars.
In our neighborhood growing up, we all knew, go to that house. They give full-size candy bars, man.
Yeah,
none of this mini nonsense.
That's jackpot. You know, you always mark those. And if you were really diehard, it wasn't unusual for you to make a second round to the same house and hope they don't remember you.
But on the flip side, you also knew where not to go. You knew, hey, the house that gave you the York peppermint patties, they're X'd off the list. Or the black and orange wrapper.
The black and orange wrapper.
Plain black.
What the hell is that?
Yeah. Hey, how lazy can you be?
I think those still exist. I still don't know what they are.
Hey, go get real candy.
Or
bits of honey.
Yeah. I didn't like anything real chewy that would get stuck in your teeth.
I wasn't a big fan of like the sweet, sour, tart candy. I always kind of separated that.
I was all about the chocolate.
Yeah, I liked the chocolate and the peanut butter stuff. And
I was in an era where there was still a lot of people, because a lot of people don't realize that trick-or-treat started out originally by people giving real food.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Real desserts, real treats, and things like that. The candy thing is probably genius as a marketing ploy. When the candy companies realized, hey, there's billions of dollars out there just waiting for us to get our hands on it. So now it's become full-blown candy. But back then it was not unusual. Come up and knock on the door and do your thing, and all of a sudden you get this ball of popcorn that is like stuck together with some kind of melted, hardened whatever.
Caramel or something.
Yeah, and I didn't care for that stuff at all. It's like you get away from the house and you look around and you just throw it out of your bag because it's taking up space, you know?
There you go, birds.
This was a real calculated endeavor.
Yeah, I remember like bottle caps and the old root beer barrel, the little barrel candy.
Where you'd bite off the wax tip.
The Coke,
yes.
the little Coke thing.
Yes.
Fake cigarettes.
Oh, my gosh.
Candy cigarettes were a thing. I can't believe how we grew up.
Oh, the 80s.
How did we ever make it?
Hey, smoke up, Johnny.
Don't I look cool?
Yeah.
That is so funny.
Well, so speaking of the loot, I just thought of this. Speaking of the loot, because you know how like generationally, like how kids receive their candy, like in a bucket or a pumpkin face or pillowcase. Like, what was your all standard?
It was a grocery bag. Mom had to go.
You talking about like the brown one? Or
yes. That was the only kind you had back then. You didn't have plastic and all that with handles. Mom had to go to the grocery at least once every day because the refrigerator was only so big, you know.
Yeah.
So you can't put 5 gallons of milk in there.
Yeah. You said she had a tab, like a running tab.
Yes. At the IGA, she had a running tab, and Dad would pay it each week as part of the
That's awesome.
part of the household bills. But we could, when Mom needed something, she'd just tell us, run down to the IGA, I need a gallon of milk, or I need this or that, and just put it on the tab.
Yeah. I remember growing up, you used to tell us that you could easily go through a gallon of milk at breakfast alone.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
She had to get at least a gallon of milk and a loaf of bread every day, every single day.
Man, oh man.
Wow. When she would buy peanut butter, she wouldn't buy a jar. She'd buy this big
tub.
Yeah, it's like a pail.
Like a pail. Like an ice cream pail that you get at JC.
Yeah, it was just big old.
She opens the lid, like, okay, go crazy.
Big old peanut butter thing.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was a little bit different time.
I'm sorry, Mary Beth. I was just gonna assume that back then it was like the old school like pillowcase. It's kind of what I've assumed.
Some people did. I thought that was pretty creative.
Well, was the garbage bag thing just you guys, or was that like more?
No, grocery bag.
Grocery
Or
bag.
I'm sorry, I meant grocery.
We did it. It seemed like most everybody did.
Oh, that's interesting.
I'm trying to remember if we ever did get to a point where we had an actual trick or treat bag. I don't recall that.
Yeah, I remember our generation was mostly, you'd see some pillowcases, but it was mostly like the big souvenir bags, like the big bags, like that went really deep.
Wouldn't they give it to us at school?
Yes.
Yeah, so everybody would get it.
And it would have some type of Halloween picture, or like a theme. Like
maybe it was handed out through our municipal
something.
betters
Yeah,
who would
but
give the schools those plastic bags.
Yes, and they were real deep.
Yeah.
Or you'd see people with the orange Halloween.
If you were
or the
really
pumpkin.
fancy.
You see people, with the orange
I see
pumpkin.
a lot of kids with the jack-o'-lantern.
But I just didn't think that held enough.
It didn't.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'd rather have the big bag.
Yeah, give me the bag.
Yeah.
Well, nowadays you've got parents following them around, and probably they take some of the candy because your container's getting full. Give me a couple of those candy bars.
May we be honest for a moment? Speaking of
No, let's
parents
be
today. So today, as I mentioned earlier, so parents are much more involved in the trick-or-treating process. Now, I'm not one of those get off my lawn crotchety old bitches, but I can't help but notice parents holding their toddler who probably has 2 teeth trick-or-treating. And I'm like, okay, I know the kid is not going to eat this, so you're just good. What's really cool though is I don't mind. I'm just pointing out that that's a thing now, like little toddlers, and it's like really the parents collecting candy. But what's cool is my neighbor across the street. They sit out in their driveway, and of course they've got candy for the kids, but they also have like a bucket of shooters for the adults.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I've seen that. Yep.
Pretty cool. Shooters of Fireball and stuff.
Oh, I was going to say, I don't know what those are, but
I had a neighbor, not like directly across the street, but on the other side of my street, at my first house that I had bought. They had a whole table full of apple cider. It was like every year. They had apple cider drinks for people to pick up, and they had like the fried biscuit type of deal. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, I noticed
So
that
it's
too
just pretty neat when people...
in our neighborhood too. I kind of like the way that it's become so inclusive. It's become like a big family neighborhood event.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of cool. What age do you think you stopped? What was the cutoff?
I think actually I went all the way up through the 8th grade. I think more so because
you were
of
that kid.
Yeah. Well, most of us did. When you grow up in a Catholic school, you have all the grades from 1st grade all the way to 8th grade. So you feel like you're a grade schooler until you actually get to the big house as a freshman. So I may have stopped after the 7th, but it seemed like we still went out 8th grade.
Well,
I could be wrong.
I was going to say, as I understand it, in 7th and 8th grade, you were like 4'10" still. So
Yeah,
you probably could have passed for like 5th grade.
I was not a towering individual growing up.
You were just a wee lad.
A wee lad. Took me a long time, and once I started growing, it seemed like I couldn't stop.
Well, I want to get off the candy thing, real quick. I don't know if you mentioned it. What was your favorite candy growing up? Did you already say that, or has it changed? Did it change over the years?
Favorite candy?
Yeah, like when you were going trick or treat. Like,
Let me guess.
what was the white whale?
Huh, interesting that you say white. I know my father, and he likes a good Zero bar. He also likes a payday.
Hey, zeros are underrated, I think. I loved zero bars. Dad got me on the zero bars.
Zero bar to me is nothing more than a Snickers with white chocolate on it.
Which isn't chocolate, by the way.
It isn't?
So says I.
So says I.
I did not know that.
No, that's a good call.
I know what you mean.
I loved zero bars.
Yeah, zero bars were always good. Candy bar in general.
So were you like me? Were you kind of like didn't like the sweets as much as you liked the chocolate stuff, or were you just kind of like you liked it all, kind of?
I was really a chocolate.
Yeah, I was
fiend.
too.
Yeah.
Hey,
Chocolate,
hey,
chocolate did
fist
it.
bump on that.
Chocolate did it for me.
I would always I would always put the sweet tarts and the bottle caps and all that stuff to
Yeah.
the side, and I'd always be like Reese's, Kit Kat,
Yeah.
Twix, and
Yeah.
Snickers.
The pure sugar stuff never
Yeah.
really intrigued me.
Yeah,
It-
give me all the
it never
calories.
got my attention.
Hey, give me all the calories, bro.
I do remember that. We'd dump our bags at the end of the night and just sort through and separate the chocolate because that's what you were going to protect.
And then it was like
I'll
trading
eat
cards.
this one. I won't eat
Then it was
that
like trading cards. I was like, I'll give you this one for one of those.
Right. We would do that. We would trade with
I'll
our
take
cousins.
your little mini Milky Way for this little. You know,
Right.
it's like that kind of
Oh
thing.
man, those were the days.
Classic.
You always ended up getting something that you knew, I'm not going to eat that, and you wish you had more of those candy bars. Candy bar was it. That was the jack.
Oh yeah, jackpot for sure. And it didn't really matter what kind. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, when it comes to candy bars and chocolate, especially, it's like sex. Even if it's bad, it's still pretty good.
I was going to say, I don't think I've ever run into a candy bar
Thanks,
that
Dr. Ruth.
Hey,
Thanks, Dr. Ruth.
oh, very good. That's very good.
Hey, nothing's off limits.
You don't say.
Dr. Ruth.
Are we gonna have to change our rating?
Is she really the mother of Baby Ruth?
Something. I know you're going to get into a question, but I do remember real quick. We used to go to Nanny's neighborhood.
Yes.
And it's like you said, we would just kind of get dropped off
That's
in like a
right.
specific location, and it was just like, go forth and conquer, children. We didn't have flashlights. Hey, we just went, and I remember there was like this one. I don't remember where.
Tight housing there.
There was like this one house that was kind of darkish and old looking, and it was kind of scary. So we knock on the door, and it didn't look welcoming to trick or treaters. And I remember one time, I don't remember what year it was. I remember one time we all were like knocking on the door, and this old lady was like, "Get out of here!" And we were like, "Oh, okay." Mary Beth, write that one down. You got the address?
X that one off our list.
Go away! It was like one of those. Go away!
It's a witch.
Exactly. She was probably brewing up something in her
That's right.
cauldron.
All right, go ahead. Sorry, I know you.
Yeah, well, I would like to know, how has your Halloween experience changed as a grandpa?
Oh, gosh.
I mean, the grandkids are in their teens. They're
Yeah. It certainly,
When they were little.
it's not as fun as when, there's just something about having grandkids that's different. It's really fun to see your own kids have fun with things that you like to, how they can relate to that. But when you get the grandkid thing going, it's just, it kind of takes it to a different level. You're always looking for things that remind you of your own kids. Oh, they do this like so and so. And yeah, when they were little, it was a lot of fun. Of course, not all of my grandkids were crazy about trick or treating, so and I understand that. It's just not a big deal to a lot of kids. I think a lot of kids go trick or treating now because they're supposed to. It's just put it on my itinerary and I'll get right on that.
it's culturally expected.
Next day I have this plan, so they go trick or treating. But
It was a lot of fun when our kids were little.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
I just loved seeing them in costumes. I still remember Bryson in that little monster.
Oh yeah, I think
Monsters, Inc.
Yeah,
costume.
the little baby blue one.
Oh, my
That's one of
Lord.
my favorite pictures of him.
And wasn't he a lion?
Yes.
Okay,
Remember,
because-
remember there was that picture where he was like,
Yes, because Mallory was
remember
Dorothy.
that.
"Yep."
Yeah.
He had the
Mallory was
pouty
Dorothy,
face.
and she was like 7 months old. And of course, we didn't trick or treat, obviously, but I got pictures taken because I had the home ec teacher that we worked with, Dad and I worked with. She made Mallory a little baby Dorothy dress.
Oh yeah.
And then I bought the little
remember that.
shoes.
I do remember that.
And then she had enough hair as an infant to put in pigtails. Just stinking adorable. And then one year she was Bella for Twilight.
Yeah.
My child. She was like 6.
I don't remember if it was like this when we trick or treated, but I feel like when our kids were younger, I feel like it started earlier. Like it was daylight.
Yeah.
Hurry up, everybody! It's 5. I mean, it wasn't even like there wasn't even a hint of darkness.
I know. And I don't remember trick or treating in daylight
I don't
ever.
either. If anything, the
was
sun
always
was like
dark.
about ready to go down. I mean, you
Yeah.
could barely see. And I felt like it went forever. I felt like we didn't get back home until 10 o'clock.
Must be
Is what-
climate
is what-
change.
is what it
It's
felt-
climate change.
Yeah, I was going to say, it felt like that, but it probably was like 7:30 or
I
8.
wonder if daylight savings time changed that. I'm not sure.
Ooh, good call.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
maybe.
I don't remember. I don't know when that started.
Because I'm the same way. My memory is it was always
Always
dark.
dark.
Yeah.
I don't remember
Yeah,
ever knocking
that's-
on a door when it was
That's
still
part
light.
of Halloween. I mean,
Yeah. It may have been a time change.
I mean, that's part of the reason that the like official colors of Halloween are like orange and black. Black because of the darkness element.
Exactly.
Come on.
Yeah.
I wanted to
Never thought of
know.
that. Yeah.
I wanted to know about one of your adult costumes that we grew up.
Oh,
Every year,
I know
Dad
where this is going.
would put this same costume on, and it was legit.
it was
It was-
it was
it was-
amazeballs.
It was
amazeballs.
legit. When I got to the point where I couldn't trick or treat anymore, and then got through the period where my kids don't trick or treat anymore, I didn't want to give trick or treat up, right? So I started to figure out a plan. I was going to be more involved than just answering the door 25 times and get up and sit down and get up and sit down. So I decided, I know, I'll meet them out in front of my house. And if I'm going to be walking around in front of my house, I've got to be dressed up as something, for God's sakes.
Oh my
I
gosh.
can't just do
And I
that.
think I do remember, now that I think about it, I think I do remember you being dressed up and going with us.
Yes.
Your costume was just
Lucky
Banger.
Enough, lucky enough, at that time, we were in the Air Force, and we were stationed in the Philippines. And as it turns out, it's no problem whatsoever to run into a tailor in the Philippines for some reason. Seems like there's hundreds of them. And they do a great job. I mean, they don't just say, okay, I'll make a costume for you. They come to your house, they fit
Take
you,
measurements
they
and-
measure your arms, your legs, everything. I mean, they measure everything. You feel like a Hollywood star or something, that they're going to make a real costume for me. So I had a Hollywood grade
It was custom made Dracula.
Dracula costume that fit me. I mean, the cape went all the way from my shoulders to the ground.
And it was red on the inside of
Red.
it. Had the
Red,
big collar.
satin
You had
on
you had
inside.
like that scary medallion looking thing.
I wore a medallion that looked just like the thing that Dracula wore. I wore a tuxedo under it.
You did the Bela Lugosi kind of thing.
Oh yeah.
And they actually made the tuxedo for me as part of the costume.
That's awesome.
And I had a red sash. Red satin
Oh, yeah.
sash across it. And yeah. So all I really had to do was put on some makeup, whiten my face, darken my eyebrows.
Give yourself a widow's peak and
Yeah.
spray your hair
I was
black.
going to say he kind of already fit the mold. Our dad is 6'3",
Right.
and he was athletic build. He had the dark hair.
Right?
Yeah, he had it going on.
And you'd have blood trickling out of your mouth. And you had fangs.
I could still get, what do you call it, costume blood? Or what do you call it, actually?
Just fake blood.
Yeah,
Just fake blood?
put in those little tubes.
Yeah, they actually sold those tubes in the base
And
commissary.
it would kind of harden. You remember it kind of hardened?
Coagulated.
Coagulated.
Thank you. Yeah, it was kind of I don't know, what would you call it? A rite or something. I
Right.
can't think of the word.
A rite
I
of
wanted.
passage.
Well, you go through this whole procedure to get yourself fixed up, and it was
Ritual.
yeah, it was a ritual. Thanks.
Ritual.
That was the word I was looking for. And I remember JoJo even watching me get dressed or get the makeup on one time, and I could see his.
I still have PTSD. Like,
Right.
you scared me. when
I
you
was
put that
going to
thing
say,
on.
I was scared.
His
was scared.
his expression would change by the time I got halfway through it.
Yeah, I was like, wait a minute. 2 hours ago, this dude was just like
Yeah.
loving on me.
This
And
was my dad,
And
but
I'm-
all of a sudden, my dad's not here anymore.
He has transformed
He's transformed into
with the moon.
I've never felt so safe and then unsafe in such a quick amount of time. I was like, who is this stranger?
Yeah, when I was little, I was really scared of it too.
So I
I mean, that's how good it looked.
had to make sure I used the daddy voice and stuff when I was talking to them
Oh, you-
when I was dressed up as Dracula. But once I got out in front of the house and walking back and forth, I was Dracula. And you would be surprised how many grown-ups kept their space, didn't even look at me, didn't want me to look at them because they were just sure
Because,
I
hey,
was
listen,
going to
you
suck
never
the
know.
blood out of
Hey,
them.
you never know.
It
It
could
could
have
have been real.
Could have been real. I certainly felt it, and I was excited about it. The kids took it better than the adults, in my opinion. The kids, like, hey, look, there's Dracula, and the parents are like, hurry up, Johnny, let's go.
Yeah, that's a legit costume. I'm a little intimidated.
Don't look him in the eyes, okay? I mean, one year, the base dentist, who I happen to know, actually made me some fangs. And mix some kind of cement temporary thing that I could actually put them on my teeth.
Yeah, because I remember
base. That was cool.
even when you wore fangs, they weren't like the crazy cheap plastic.
Right.
They were. I mean,
You couldn't talk with those, by
he
the way.
was scary, y'all. Spooky, scary.
Them old plastic things that you get in the store, if
Yeah.
you put them in, you can't.
You're not intimidating or scary when you're talking like this.
And that blows the whole experience. So, yeah, I had a dentist friend actually make some fangs for me. They only lasted a couple of Halloween.
Dan, you're such a
but
geek. I
couldn't
feel
help
so.
it.
I
just
feel so
couldn't help
seen right now.
it. It was his idea, you know.
So much of what I love makes sense in this moment.
That's right.
This explains a lot.
Well, it's like we said, Mom doesn't like do anything halfway, and I'm like, clearly Dad doesn't. There's,
Dad
like,
doesn't
our,
either.
Our parents just aren't lazy people.
How did we miss this?
Yeah, I mean, I wonder why I'm so competitive now.
This enthusiasm to get it
better.
right.
Well, right.
You're going to do it.
I feel like we have to tell the Aunt Benita story. I feel like we have to.
I was thinking of that too.
I feel like we have to.
Which
Yeah.
Benita story?
So we'll tell this Benita story and then we'll go to
Go on
break.
break, yeah.
But Aunt Benita and Uncle Keith hosted a bit of a haunted house experience.
Yes, and it got like on the news. It was amazing.
So
Oh,
they,
yes.
I was the
remember that.
werewolf.
we all had a role to play.
Oh, it was very structured.
We were a little bit older at this time.
Yes.
I was Dracula.
And I remember a really creepy guy dressed as a monk
Yes.
kept roaming the neighborhood.
He kind of had this dark cloak, and he was like swinging a fake something or other. Remember, he was swinging like.
Well, I had a whip for my costume.
That's what it
I
was.
was a dominatrix.
That's what it was. Yeah.
No, I was Catwoman or something.
Yeah. At 9 years old.
Right. So he asked if he could, mess
what
around
it
with it.
was.
So he had the whip, and out of nowhere, Dracula shows up.
Well, but before that, the dude is like swinging the whip and like whipping it hard.
But
like,
he's also saying really creepy things.
yes.
Yeah.
So
Nowadays, they would call the police and take him away.
and he was just kind of like roaming around
Yeah.
our area. But
Yeah,
he
I
did
do
snap it.
remember that.
Like he knew how to snap it
Yeah.
really well. And he snapped it like twice. And then
Yeah.
just-
And then finally, Dracula steps in because I was oblivious to the other things that he was saying as he was roaming around and circling the block. And Dracula just exploded.
Oh, my
He was
Lord.
like, "Give her the whip back. Get the hell out of
yeah,
here."
it was like a hey. And then all of a sudden I'm in her yard and Dad's on the street
Yeah.
and I see his cape like flying out. Like, do you remember that?
Yes, and he scaled down the building upside down.
No, seriously. I remember Dad sprinting towards the guy and his cape was like floating behind him.
I don't remember that, but I love
do
that
remember
picture.
that.
I love that image.
I do remember that. I was
But
like,
the
oh my
the
gosh.
guy really, he was shook.
Yeah, he was shook.
You could tell.
Oh, he was shook.
So he handed it to me, and I was like, I don't know. I just cowered. I was in fear. I was like, oh, but you were like, yeah, I've been listening to you all night talking about how you hope to wish death upon somebody or some such business. He was talking crazy, and Dracula kicked him out of
Yeah, man.
our little celebration.
It was awesome.
So Dracula really was kind of scary.
Yeah, I was like, that's my dad.
That's my dad. My dad's in the mirror.
Dad's the mirror.
I called the monk some weirdo, and there I am, out of the Air Force.
I'm telling you.
Former Air Force officer dressed
A grown
up
man.
I was only 8 or 9 years old, but I feel like Aunt Benita would remember. Dad like was running on the street, and his cape was like flying behind him. It was freaking awesome.
We will have to check. We'll
Yeah.
have to do a fact check on that.
We'll fact check that. It's like you almost turned into a bat,
If I had.
and you were gonna like hover around his face and bite at him.
Well, real quick, what is your Halloween ritual now? I know you still get just as excited.
Yes. I do sit outside, but I don't dress up anymore. I try to stay warm because I don't know where all the global warming is when you need it, but the last few Halloweens have just been freezing.
Really cold.
I actually had a heater under my chair last year, and a few years back we set out at the end of the driveway with a portable fire pit,
Fire pit.
And some spirits.
which was pretty cool. So yeah, it's
And you've
kinda
got spooky
downplayed.
music playing.
I don't anymore, but I used to.
You used to have it up in our kitchen window.
Yes,
I
I
remember.
kind of scaled back to that. Even when I was coaching, I made sure that I got practice over on trick or treat.
You're such a geek.
The
I
players
love it.
knew why.
Nerd alert!
Oh,
Nerd alert!
You know, the players going, oh, it's trick or treat. It's going to be a short practice. You're right. And I'd get home and then I'd get the music out. I think I had 2 CDs that had all kinds
Yeah,
of
to
weird
clarify, when I say
scary-
you played it through the window, like you would open the kitchen window and you would have it sitting right there so you could hear it.
Yes.
It was
And he
really
did
cool.
this on purpose
I put the
to
speaker
scare the
right
little
up.
children as they walked
Yeah,
up the
and it was like that. It was like that stuff we made fun of earlier.
creaky doors and
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool.
It scared the parents more than it did the kids.
Yeah, it's like now I dress up when I pass out candy. I dress up as a retired grandfather.
And then I'd open the door real slow.
You would do that. You are a nerd.
Slow, and the first thing they would see is the jack-o'-lantern from Halloween
Yes.
sitting right there in the foyer. And then I'd pop out from behind the door and scare most of the bejesus out of almost all of them. So
fun time.
you gotta have your fun.
We'll go on break, but did Grandma and Grandpa ever decorate your all's house or have any kind of
No.
lights or anything like that? No, it was just like, here's the costumes, go forth and do what you do.
Get out of our hair for
That's
a
cool.
few hours.
That's cool.
And we wouldn't come back till like 10 o'clock. I mean, we'd go until nobody would answer a door.
Let's be honest. Grandma was pretty busy. She had a lot going on. She had to build her next day's grocery list.
We drained this for all.
And she was probably pregnant at the time.
Probably.
Chances are, statistically speaking, she was probably pregnant.
All right, well, we're going to take a quick break. Want to remind everybody you can text us. Click on the link just above the show notes on our website. You can also email us at thebestofgenx@gmail.com. When we come back, we're going to talk scary movies. And then I think, brother, you're going to be bringing on a special guest.
Am I? I think I am.
I think you're going to bring back your game show host to quiz Dad and me on everything Halloween related. Okay, we're back. I forgot to ask you. I wanted to know, since you and Mom typically go to your condo in Florida for the month of October, and to me, when it comes to holidays, man, ambiance matters. Like, I need the crisp, cool air. I need the sweaters. I need the smell of the leaves, and I need the pumpkins everywhere. But you go to Florida, I can't imagine much, Halloween vibes.
Yeah, it's still very summer-like in Clearwater. I mean, it's in the 80s every day, and you can count on it being in the 80s every day. So it doesn't really have that fall feel. And there's more coconut palm trees than there are trees that shed their leaves and
Right.
stuff. So
People rocking their tank tops and swim trunks and barefoot and riding beach bikes around.
flip-flops.
Yeah.
It just does. It's just not
Not
just
the
not
same.
the same. No.
Now, we have listeners in several cities in Florida, and I have to ask, what is the matter with you people?
Well, now there's plenty of places in Florida that if you didn't know you were in Florida and you walk down the street in that neighborhood, you might think you're in Middle America somewhere. So I'm sure there's plenty of places that they get that vibe. But
Yeah.
where we are, being close to the bay and shorelines and things like that, it just doesn't. It's still summery.
Now,
Okay.
Josh and I have visited you in Florida in October, in fact, and I know that you still keep
Was that
this-
in October? I didn't know.
well, once in June, and then before that
okay.
it was October. But I know that you still keep the Halloween spirit alive because you were watching old classic scary movies every night. So tell me, I know that you've loved scary movies, and I guess that's where I get it. I've always loved scary movies. I want to know what was your earliest scary movie that you ever saw that scared you to death, but you couldn't get enough of it?
Boy, that's a good question because I've seen a lot of them. There was a period when I was real young where there was more science fiction type. We'd call them scary movies, but they were science fiction with a monster in them. But that was a different genre
Right.
than the true scary movies. And I really started seeing scary movies at the Venro Theater. Of course, you kids growing up have heard me say a million times, "Oh, I saw that at the Venro
Right.
Theater." So you could probably pick out what movies I probably went to see. I went a lot. I didn't realize I'd gone to the theater that much. But if it was a Vincent Price movie
Absolutely.
or a Peter Cushing, Christopher Lee movie, I'm there, baby. I
Yes.
was not going to miss those, especially a Vincent Price movie. They were just awesome. They were high quality, great acting. There was always a beautiful girl in there that caught my attention. but it was
Sinner.
it was true old style horror films,
Yeah.
not the slash and blood and guts and all. Let's see how
Slasher movies.
Way to stay on topic, Dad.
if we can turn doctors off type movies. I don't
That's
care
awesome.
about all that stuff. It's that suspense type. You
Thriller.
don't know when the evil is going to arrive. Or
Is that back when movies were like 50 cents?
God,
I think they were less than that, actually.
Sorry.
he's throwing shade at you,
Yeah.
Dad.
It might have been 50 cents or less.
Hey, what you gonna do about it?
I remember talking my dad into an extra quarter in most cases, and off a quarter I could get a soda, I could get 2 candy bars, or a bag of popcorn and a candy bar,
Score.
and a drink for a quarter.
Let us be clear. The prices are not the same today.
They are not.
I think a good deal is like $12.50 for a movie. It's
My
crazy.
gosh.
I mean,
And even then, you have to be a senior citizen,
Right.
and it has to be 2 o'clock in the
exactly.
afternoon.
I was going to say, Mom, or you probably could have taken all 3 of us out to a movie for $12.50 back in the 80s.
Kidding.
That's crazy.
It's just amazing how much it costs. The concessions cost more than the movies
Exactly.
now.
And now they serve like beer and all this other stuff.
Yeah, I mean it's different.
And apparently, you can go to these places where they serve dinner and beer, and then you can recline.
Yes.
Like, I'm not here to sleep. I would fall asleep. I'd be too cozy.
Hey, listen, I'm the opposite. I ain't hating it. I love it.
Oh,
I feel like I'm at home.
I would be interested in trying it if I could wear my pajamas. I did have a question, Dad. I remember growing up, you talked about one of the scariest movies you'd ever seen, and you saw it in theaters. I want to know what it was like to see The Exorcist for the first time.
Oh boy, I can remember the story on this. We had played a basketball game. I was in college, and as we're winding down, we already showered, getting dressed, and so on. One of my teammates said, "Hey, Led, you want to go to a movie tonight?" I thought, man, it's awful late. He says, "Well, it's a midnight showing." I said, "What is it?" He says, "They call it The Exorcist or something like that." And I went, "The Exorcist?" We were both Catholic,
Right.
actually, so we knew what exorcism was. I think it's the only major religion that still has the rite of exorcism in it. Anyway, I thought, hey, yeah, it's a scary movie. Sure, I'll go ahead and go. So he had a couple of girlfriends wanted to go to, so it wasn't a date or anything like that. So we go. And sure enough, midnight showing.
Ooh, I can't
I
imagine.
didn't know a thing about it. I was consumed with basketball in college and so on.
And let's pause for a moment and preface the fact that, remember, he grew up in a Catholic family, going to nothing but Catholic school, nuns for teachers, priests were on this pedestal in your head. So you're bringing an entire, childhood into this experience.
Absolutely.
So I'm just really curious, as a Catholic, how that movie affected you.
Look at it differently.
But go on.
I promise you.
So you had no idea what it was
No
about.
idea. Had no idea. I knew what exorcism was, but I thought, it's going to be another one of these so scary. Boy, I didn't get scared so easy anymore. So we show up. All right, so it's almost a packed house, a huge crowd, nice theater and all that stuff. So we're sitting there, eating popcorn and just chatting, and all of a sudden the movie starts. Well, 10, 15 minutes into the movie, nothing really is happening yet. I'm thinking, man, we're staying up awful late to go see this. This little girl running around and just living life in Washington, D.C. I mean, come on. And then the next thing you know, she turns into something weird and crazy.
Crawls, does a back bend crawling down the stairs.
Oh, yeah, and all of a sudden she has this demon voice and stuff, and I'm backing up and going, oh, wait, hey, whoa, time out here, wait. And people in the crowd are getting more and more scared. The scenes get more and more detailed and scarier.
Dark.
Oh, I mean, by the minute, this movie seemed to get worse and worse. Scare-wise. And there were parts of it where people got up and walked out. I mean, they were not going to sit there and be that scared. I wasn't thrilled with it. I was expecting a quote scary movie, and what I saw was a religious happening that scared the wits out of most of us, especially Catholic kids. I mean, up to that point, I'd probably hid my eyes in a scary movie twice in my life and hadn't done it for 10 years probably. All of a sudden, I'm catching myself not wanting to look at the screen. I'm thinking, oh, geez.
Well, and I think
look at that.
Well, I would imagine that, especially in that era, when I think back to the types of scary movies that you grew up watching and really enjoyed, this would catch the audience so off guard because this is not like a period piece. You're not distracted by fancy costumes from the 1800s.
Oh, it's very everyday life.
It's in America. Usually these things happen in the, Eastern Europe and all that sort of thing. But you have just this normal mother, daughter. And so I find those sort of unassuming stories the most suspenseful, scary, whatever you want to call it.
To me, the only things that really scare me are the things I feel like I have no control over. That scares me. Jaws, yeah. I mean, it's a big old fish with teeth and stuff.
That's one of my
Stay
favorites.
away from it, or you stay in a boat or shoot it and whatever. But how do you fight the devil? I mean, you couldn't. There was nothing you could do about it. These people couldn't stop it, and these priests couldn't stop it, for God's sake. And priests can't stop it. Well, it's hopeless.
And because of the normal present kind of setting, it made it seem like it could happen to anyone.
Exactly. And the music was so unique.
Yeah.
You never heard music for a movie like that before.
That was just like a piano riff, wasn't it?
Yes. And
so recognizable.
It got to the point where people didn't even want to hear the music because the music was being played on the radio, and it would immediately take the people back to the movie that had already seen it. The ones that hadn't seen it yet, they were going to see it because everybody was talking about it. It was the buzz of all movies up to that point.
After you saw it, did you
want to go back and see it again? No.
Did you? Once was enough?
Yes. Oh my gosh, it was the scariest movie I ever seen in my life.
Does it still rank as the scariest movie you've ever seen?
Yeah.
Hands down?
Yeah.
You seem pretty sure.
Yeah, and I don't care.
Oh, take a minute. Think about it.
I can see why. I mean, it's freaking
I
scary.
don't count the blow them up, shoot them up, kill them up stuff now. And it seems like you got to be real
Gory.
What do you call it? Hyperactive disorder or whatever to
ADHD.
To stay with movies now. They're so fast. They're so loud. There's so much kill them, shoot them, gore and blood. And, I don't care about all that stuff.
Right. I do. I just wanted to touch upon that because I remember that story growing up, and also I know when the movie came out, people were actually getting physically sick and leaving the theater. I just think it was so cool that you got to experience it, when it first came out and got to see it in a theater at midnight, no less. And growing up a Catholic boy, seeing this movie, you had to have been so affected by it.
I was totally unprepared
for
what I saw on the screen, and it affect you. I mean, it make you stop and think, okay, we had a test over this exorcism thing.
When's the last time I prayed?
It is doable to stop that. And, the devil, he's not going to just jump out under my bed and take my body over. He wouldn't want this body anyway.
Scary stuff.
You thought about it. It's the only movie in my life that ever afterwards sat and actually thought about the movie.
The possibility of something like that.
It was awful.
Ooh, that's the kind of scary movie I like.
Hey, Dad, peace be with you.
It was scary.
I had one.
Okay.
The 1979 Dracula. I think his name was like Frank Langella or...
Oh, yes.
Or is it Langella? Yeah. That freaked me.
We watched the crap out of that one.
That freaked me TF out.
Yeah.
Is that the one that ended like on a ship?
Yeah, like he got
turned
hung
into
or something.
His son turned into a bat or something.
I think the sun got him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But wasn't he hung or something like that?
Well, yeah, he was. They hoisted him up
Yeah,
on the.
yeah.
But it's the son. I think that
God,
ultimately got him in that one.
Man, that one messed with me bad.
I don't think I actually got to see that whole movie. I
We
saw
watched
part
it at Sharon's. We've talked about Sharon's collection, Roy and Sharon's collection on the
I was
podcast many
I was
times.
like 6.
Yeah, we were way too young to see it. We watched the crap out of it, and it was so scary.
Yeah, it was scary.
But it was a good one.
It was a good
I mean,
one.
I think that one stands the test of time. And actually, I think the most recent Dracula from not Bram Stoker, but who was it had Keanu Reeves, Winona Ryder, Gary Oldman.
Yes, Gary Oldman played Dracula.
I think that's a pretty good one because
that is.
very good.
because it connected the history, Vlad the Impaler.
I thought it was Bram Stoker, no?
Bram Stoker,
Bram Stoker.
yes.
Well, yeah, but I'm not talking about the author. I'm talking about who made the movie. It's escaping me
I got you.
right now.
I don't remember that.
Right, but
Very, very good.
that's a good one.
Yeah, and that's the first Dracula movie that I can remember where they actually made Dracula look
The way he's
awful,
described.
scary.
Yeah, the way he's described in the book.
Yeah.
Yeah. Really true to the actual story and pretty well done, I think. But I don't know. I feel like scary movies have had their day. I just don't know that.
Maybe.
I don't know if it's just because our culture, we're so desensitized that it takes quite a bit to scare us now.
Yeah,
I mean, after COVID and Trump scaring everybody, I just don't know that I can be scared anymore.
You can get on Twitter and watch somebody get shot point blank or
exactly,
lit on
like
fire
viral
or
videos.
jumping off buildings.
it's hard to
That's
scare
almost
us.
every night in Louisville. I mean, it's just unbelievable.
It's hard to scare us these days, but I have to say, I think the last good scary movie was the Scream franchise, and honestly, I wouldn't go past the second version, the second installment. It was okay, but after that, I don't know. I think they were just
seen a complete Scream movie.
Do you like to watch scary movies?
Hey.
Isn't that one of the lines in it?
the first one is pretty darn good.
Actually, it's pretty good.
Pretty good, and I like the way that they play off the stereotypes and the conventions. Like part of the movie was this character saying, "Here are the rules for scary movies. If you're this person, you get killed. If you're and so it kind of played off that. And of course, it's Wes Craven, right?
I think so.
One
We
of
can
the
fact check
masters.
that later.
Yeah.
But a favorite for me growing up, and still to this day, I feel like Halloween hasn't happened unless I watch Halloween at least once.
Oh, I agree. I make a point to watch the original 1979 version.
I think they
love
went
that.
overboard with all the additional Halloween.
I mean, the latest ones.
Pretty well done, actually.
Look, Jamie Lee Curtis is so beloved to me. My whole life, I've loved that woman, and so I can find enjoyment off the newest installments just from her alone. But I do like the throwbacks from the newer one. At the same time, they kind of went overboard as far as like, okay, this guy was supposed to be an actual human, and now he's turned into a droid or something that can't be killed.
Right, exactly.
Cannot be.
That's when it kind of got silly to me.
You know, they said in the 79 version, the budget was so shoestring that they actually used the actors and actresses to help paint the house.
Oh, really?
Yes, they actually helped with the labor stuff.
Yeah, I think there's a Netflix documentary called "Movies That Made Us," and I think they talk about that because that's one of them.
Just made an absolute fortune.
And
Off of nothing.
again, it was so like there was a minimalist quality to it.
Right.
Not a lot of bells and whistles and scary monsters. It was just a
Nothing
dude with a
overdone,
mask,
right.
and in an everyday average neighborhood where you feel like this could really happen to you.
It felt
With
like
another good piano riff that everybody
Oh,
recognizes.
amazing.
Very simple.
Yeah.
the score of that movie was amazing.
Right. Joe.
Yes.
Little Joe.
Yes.
Oh, sorry.
Yes.
I believe you have a guest you'd like to introduce.
Yeah, actually, come on. Okay, you can come on. Yeah, he's actually on his way
Okay,
right here.
oh.
He's about ready to sit down.
Okay.
Are you ready? This is actually somebody you've met before.
Oh, have I?
Okay. Okay. Yeah, you can go. Okay.
Here we go.
Exciting.
Hello. And my name is Heehaw Jockenberry.
It's Heehaw.
You're watching Trick or Truth.
Yay.
I know him.
This is the game where I give you certain facts and you decide if it's a trick or truth.
All right. Are we competing?
Why not?
I think that's what you guys do, apparently, from what I've been told.
Aren't we breathing?
How are we doing today?
I'm doing fantastic, and I am like hands on the table, ready to pounce.
You are very ready, I see.
I'm ready.
Okay. What? I'm sorry.
It's a what question?
As you know, Heehaw has to go back to game show training school. As we talked about in the Big Hair episode, I'm only through level 2.
Okay, so you're supposed to. Okay, you're gonna give us statements.
I'm going to give you statements like I originally said.
This is not real Jeopardy, right? Where you got to do everything with a question.
It starts with a what?
Yeah. Please, everyone, I'm still getting certified.
All right, lay it on us.
All right.
All right. America's favorite Halloween candy is Snickers. Trick or truth?
Trick.
Trick.
That is correct.
Yes.
Reese's comes out on top according to a 2023 poll, with 29% of Americans choosing it as their favorite.
Had to be Reese's.
I was gonna say Reese's for sure.
Okay. Are you ready for the next question?
I think so, Zach.
I am.
Trick or truth? Americans first celebrated the holiday in the 1700s when Irish immigrants fleeing potato famine brought the tradition with them to the United States.
Truth.
Trick.
Big Joe is correct.
Oh, wait a minute. If you do the dates.
It's the date.
Oh, you asshole.
It was first celebrated
It's 1800s.
in the 1840s.
Damn it.
When Irish immigrants fleeing potato famine brought the tradition with them.
Okay.
Instead of 1841.
All right, you jerk.
Yeah. Mary Beth,
You're going to pull those.
Mary Beth, as you know, this is a serious game. Oh, thank you to be serious.
She's trying.
Okay. Trick or truth? Bobby Prickett first released the song in 1962 on an LP with other Monster-themed tunes. And Monster Mash was number 1 on the Billboard Top 100 that year, October 20th through October 27th.
Truth.
I'm going to say trick. It was October 28th.
Big Joe is correct.
Yes. I'm undefeated.
Dad was almost 9 years old. But he knows all about Bobby Prickett.
I probably sang it.
We did the mash.
You did the Monster Mash.
The Monster
Hey,
Mash.
another Office reference. Pam really hates
Monster
Monster
Mash.
Mash. I mean, like, she really hates it. Okay, next question. David Copperfield, the magician, passed away on Halloween Day.
Trick.
I'm going to say truth.
Big Joe is once again correct.
Yes.
David Copperfield, Mary Beth, is very much alive and kicking.
Oh my God, I thought he was dead. I didn't even think of that.
You might find it hard to believe, but the magician Harry Houdini passed away on Halloween Day.
Maybe that's where I was feeling that vibe. I know I've heard that before. David Copperfield. Sorry, Mr. Copperfield.
Gotcha. That's what Heehaw Jockenberry does. Okay, next, trick or truth? What is so funny?
Trick.
That is correct. Big Joe is on a roll.
I'm sorry. I thought that was a real one.
Mary Beth is not making it easy for Heehaw to pass level 2.
Trying.
They will never certify me. Okay, trick or truth? Most humans have 206 bones, although the body has 270 at birth that subsequently fuse to become 206.
That's way too complicated to be false. I'm going to say truth.
Oh, you don't know, Heehaw. I'm all about the gotcha moments. What did you say, Big Joe?
Truth.
Did you
I
say?
said truth.
That is correct.
Right.
Yes.
I guess I could have thrown out some different numbers.
205 instead.
Let me make a quick note. Okay.
Dr. Ruth.
Okay. Halloween, as we know, is a Catholic holiday. It is also short for All Hallows Eve. It is the day of the vigil held the evening before All Saints' Day on November 1st. Trick or truth?
True.
True.
That is correct.
I know my history. All right.
Hallowed evening, or Holy Night, because Halloween is a Catholic holiday too. It's short for Hallows Eve, All Hallows Eve, the day of the vigil, held the evening before All Saints' Day on November 1st. Even further, because Heehaw is just this smart, Pope Gregory IV added All Saints' Day
I was going to say, they were trying to undercut the...
to the official calendar in 837.
So it's weird to hear you say it's a Catholic holiday when really they created All Saints' Day to kind of combat the evil of the day before.
And All Souls' Day is the day after All Saints.
This is Mary Beth's way of making Heehaw seem not as smart.
And it's working.
With my Wikipedia education.
All right. Trick or truth? The average trick-or-treat Halloween bag has 4,000 calories.
Dang. Trick.
It's got to be trick. There's got to be more than 4,000.
I know, all those minis.
It is closer to 7,000.
All right.
It was one of those numbers.
That's right.
How's that for motivation to take it easy on night one and tuck a few treats away from later in the week?
You know, Mr. Jockenberry, I think I figured out your
MO.
your MO. I think I will get these right henceforth.
We'll see about that. I have been known to be a trickster. Trick or truth? The first lady to decorate the White House to celebrate Halloween was...
Mrs. Washington.
I wasn't finished with the question. Was Mrs. Roosevelt.
Trick. She wasn't festive.
That is correct.
Woo!
It was Mamie Eisenhower in
Mamie.
1958.
Yes, Mamie.
Big Joe had not yet turned 5. It was a 17 by 21 foot jack-o'-lantern. Anyway,
I was going to say, Jockenberry knows a lot about our dad.
he was prepped.
Google me.
Little Joe and myself had a Zoom call well before this. It was part of my level 2 training.
Okay, how many more questions we got here?
Trick or truth?
I don't think Mary Beth's going to make it.
Trick or truth? The Munster family's mansion in the 1960s TV show was located at 1200 Gardner Lane in the fictional area.
Trick. It was 1313 Spooky Lane?
Snap, Dad.
Something like that.
It was not, but you're close.
Okay.
It was 1313 Mockingbird Lane
Dad.
in the fictional area of Mockingbird Heights.
You knew the house number.
I didn't have a lot going on in my life at that time.
That is the end of of Trick or Truth.
God, I'm so glad.
Thank you for playing today.
I don't think I could have lasted two more questions. I know Mary Beth could.
Thank you, Mr. Jockenberry. Do you have any exit music you'd like to share?
You two were worthy competitors. Not.
Please use it.
Hey, worthy competitors. Not.
I look forward to seeing you again, sir.
Thank you.
Speak for yourself.
As always, this has been your host, Heehaw Jockenberry. Thank you for watching Trick or Truth. Let me go finish my level 2 certification.
Oh, man.
Mary
Hey.
Beth, what do you think about him? He's
Something else.
I'll tell you what. and
Really?
he's reasonably priced.
Google him.
Hey, he's very accessible, obviously.
Hey, those questions were pretty tough. I'm impressed.
I mean, I really think he takes it serious. He really tries.
He does.
I think I went undefeated in that
think you
round. I
did.
think I did.
I
This
did.
was a competition. in case
I
you didn't
performed
know it.
quite poorly.
You kind of lost it midway through.
I
there.
did.
Could not get back on that horse.
I saw an agenda behind every question.
I really just didn't like how Heehaw paused on that address because I'm like, now they're going to say trick, right?
Mary Beth always was one of those that would take a test in school and talk herself right out of the right answer.
Exactly.
I wish she knew right away.
Aw, you remember those
Oh, listen,
days.
as we all know, she was dreadful in school.
I had horrible test anxiety. You're right. I would talk myself out of the right.
Did it mean this or did it mean that? Were they trying to trick me?
Everyone's out to trick me. Hey, guys, this was a lot of fun.
I enjoyed it.
Dad, ever since we started this,
On my kids.
It was all right. Hey, it was all right.
ever
It's
since,
like this every day.
Yeah.
this is a regular Tuesday
Oh,
for
yeah,
us when we get together. But ever since we started the podcast, we've wanted to have you on, and it just seemed like the right time, right before your birthday, right before Halloween.
Yeah, people always ask me, how was your dad as a teacher? I go, that. Whatever you just heard, that.
I can't help myself.
It was great. Well, we enjoyed having you.
I enjoyed
Thanks for
being
joining
on.
us.
Thanks for asking.
Thank you so much for listening to another piece of the Gen X experience worth saving. Halloween for the Boomer and the Boomer's Little Goblins has now been immortalized in the annals of history. If you like what you heard, subscribe to the Best of Gen X wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss an episode. Joe, always a pleasure.
Duh.